High in the Andes, stones lie scattered like a giant's abandoned toys. Their cuts are impossibly perfect, a paradox in stone. This is Puma Punku, a gate of ruins. Built by a people who, archaeologists say, possessed no wheel and no writing. They lock into place without a single drop of mortar. How could a Bronze Age culture achieve such a feat? Yet these stones, some weighing over 100 tons, fit together with the precision of a modern machine. The chronicler looks toward the distant mountains, the source of the hardest stone. The quarry lies 90 kilometers away, separated from this sacred site by uneven terrain and the vast, deep waters of Lake Titicaca. An impossible journey. So the first question is not just how they cut the stone, it is how they moved a mountain. The Tiwanaku people who lived here vanished around 1000 AD. They left behind no written explanation for their methods. Their legacy is a silent testament of engineering genius, a puzzle waiting for an answer. Every stone carries a story. The official history offers simple tools: stone hammers, bronze chisels, and the strength of thousands of determined people. But could such tools alone create these flawless right angles? These perfectly circular, deeply drilled holes? The mystery deepens, inviting speculation. Some have even whispered of lost technologies or help from the stars. But to understand the how, we must first ask why. Why pour generations of effort into this monumental gateway? This was no mere fortress or palace. Puma Punku was built as a ceremonial center, a place to meet the gods. The reward was divine favor and immense power. The risk of failure was the collapse of their entire world. They believed the world had been created here, and they were shaping it anew, a task that demanded perfection. So the first great gamble began: quarrying the stone. Red sandstone, softer, was found 10 kilometers away, but the monumental H-blocks and gates required andesite, a volcanic rock nearly as hard as diamond. A true challenge. Historians believe they used heavy stone mauls to pound the rock, cracking it along natural fault lines. Then, wooden wedges were hammered into the cracks. When soaked with water, the wood would expand, splitting the stone. It was a slow, brutal process, one that would take immense patience and a deep understanding of the material. Once freed, the blocks began their long journey. How do you move 100 tons without beasts of burden? The current theory suggests log rollers and immense manpower. Inch by painful inch, across the Altiplano. Then came the greatest obstacle: Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world, deep and treacherous. Engineers speculate they built massive reed boats, lashing several together to create a huge, buoyant catamaran. A flotilla of smaller boats would then tow the precious cargo. A voyage requiring calm weather and immense coordination. This feat of transport, while astounding, is believed to be possible, but it does not explain the cuts. So how did they shape the hardest stone with such precision? The chronicler's scroll turns to a new chapter. The stones arrived as rough-hewn giants. The true magic, the impossible work, happened right here at Puma Punku. The first step was creating flat surfaces. They would grind them for weeks, using flatter stones and abrasive sand. This explains the smoothness. But what about the intricate interior cuts and the sharp 90-degree angles? This is where ingenuity had to rewrite the rules of physics. The key was not a harder tool. Bronze chisels, the strongest metal they had, would deform against hard andesite. The tools don't match the results. It was a harder abrasive. The secret ingredient was sand, but used in a remarkably clever way. Imagine a string, perhaps from an animal sinew, coated in wet, abrasive sand. Pulled taut, it becomes a saw. And the drill holes? Not a solid drill bit, but a hollow tube, perhaps of bamboo. This technique, repeated for thousands of hours, could create the straight lines, a testament to incredible discipline and patience. Spun rapidly with sand and water, it wouldn't drill, but grind a perfect circle, leaving a solid core behind. This method is documented in other ancient cultures. It is an elegant solution to an impossible problem. The chronicler revisits the stakes. Perfection was a divine command. Every cut was an act of devotion. This made the structure remarkably resistant to earthquakes, a constant threat in the Andes. Form following function. But one more secret remained hidden in plain sight. Small, eye-shaped sockets carved into the sides of some blocks. Archaeologists believe these held metal clamps. Molten bronze or a nickel-copper alloy was poured in to bind the stones. Now for the assembly. The blocks were not just stacked, they were engineered to interlock, like a puzzle. This technique, called eye cramps, was a sophisticated form of structural reinforcement. Far ahead of its time, so the pieces of the puzzle come together. Not aliens, but human beings with incredible focus and ingenuity. They treated stone not as a block, but as a liquid to be shaped, a medium for their devotion. Every smooth surface was a prayer. Every perfect angle, a connection to the cosmos, to their creator god, Viracocha. The site itself was a calendar. The main gates perfectly aligned to the solstices and equinoxes. They were not just building a temple. They were building an instrument to read the language of the sky. Each H-block was part of a larger system. Some believe they were identical, interchangeable parts, like a modern kit. The precision wasn't just for beauty, it was for function. It had to be perfect to work. This suggests a level of standardization and planning that is simply breathtaking. A blueprint passed down through generations. So the impossible place becomes possible. Not through magic, but through a mastery of natural law and immense human will. The chronicler looks at a broken gate. The greatest mystery was not how it was built, but why it was abandoned. They did not defy physics. They simply understood it on a level that we are only now beginning to appreciate. The site appears to have been left unfinished. Tools dropped, stones left partially carved, as if the workers simply walked away. What could cause such a sudden end to a project that spans centuries? An endeavor of such profound faith. Others suggest internal conflict or the arrival of a rival power. The center could no longer hold. Some theories point to a catastrophic drought that destabilized the empire. The faith in their gods wavered. Centuries later, the Inca would arrive and gaze upon these ruins with the same awe that we do today. Whatever the cause, the knowledge was lost. The techniques for shaping stone with such grace vanished with the people. They believed it was the work of gods or giants. They could not replicate the construction themselves. The ruins became a quarry for later cultures. Stones were broken up and repurposed, scattering the puzzle further. What we see today is only a ghost of the original design, a faint echo of its former glory. The solutions to the paradox are not supernatural. They are profoundly, inspiringly human. It's a story of time, patience, and a shared vision strong enough to move mountains. Literally. The stones do not hide their secrets maliciously. They simply wait for us to ask the right questions. And now, the grand design. Let us see Puma Punku not as a ruin, but as it was intended to be. A city of gates, polished to a mirror finish, reflecting the sun, the moon, and the power of an empire. Water would have flowed through intricate channels, turning the site into a shimmering island temple, a paradise on earth. It was the center of a vast civilization, drawing pilgrims and traders from across the Andes. A beacon of culture, a place where the earthly and divine could meet, mediated by the precision of human hands. This was its purpose. But like all great designs, it was fragile. When the rains failed and the empire crumbled, the gateway closed. The silent stones are an echo, a reminder that what can be built by human hands can also be lost. The knowledge vanished, not because it was alien, but because it was not written down. It lived only in memory. Puma Punku is not a failure. It is a stunning achievement, whose final chapter was simply never finished. It stands as a challenge to our definition of primitive, and a monument to the boundless potential of human dedication. Their story teaches us that the greatest innovations are not always complex machines. Sometimes it is simply time. Every stone carries a story. Now, go out into your world and find the stories waiting to be told.